All right, so there's a lot of stuff to cover today. A lot of people have submitted, and the community is growing fast. There's how many people are there? Um, so the community's 3,451 members. So just remember that to keep this, steady and available for everyone, the more people we have, the more critiques you get, which is the good side. The downside is that we might lose control. So just remember to follow the rules. Don't post sketch by sketch. This is also not a gallery for your work. It's where you want to go to get some critiques. If you are posting consistently and for some reason you just keep posting stuff that looks exactly the same as before, no changes have been made, take some time before you post again so that you can, take the time to appreciate the critiques that were given to you, that, time to process them and digest them and have them apply to your work. But we're growing fast, so please make sure that you follow the rules to keep it steady. The rules are just there to keep it organized so everyone can have their fair share of time. Don't post sketches day by day. And as an announcement, okay, where did it go? The poll. Did I bring down the poll or something? Did I unpin the poll? Polls. But I. Where's the poll? Oh, there it is. I need to add it to the polls. Okay, and typically what we're going to be doing is it's already decided way before the end of the month that the next theme is going to be character design floral humanoids. Basically, it means you choose a flower. I'm gonna assign a resource pack and have it downloadable on my website. But typically, what it's going to be is choose a flower from the flowers that I give you or the plants that I give you, and find a way to combine and unite that flower with a standing humanoid character. So this is going to be humanoids. You can use beauty rules. You can choose male or female. You can go androgynous if you want. These are just basically like flower fairies or flower people. They don't necessarily have to be pretty flowers with big petals coming out of their shoulders. It can be some, really ugly looking flowers or weeds. You can go antagonist, you can go protagonist, you can go, bad guy, good guy, you can go poisonous, you can go healing. I'm going to cover all of that for you, but yeah, the point of these challenges is to keep you guys, making stuff that you can put in your portfolio. It isn't necessarily limited to just messing around with it and then throwing it away and tossing it in the garbage. This is portfolio ready assignments. This is stuff that will really shine and sparkle in your portfolios that employers will love to see. All right, so let's get started. Let's get awesome. Let's get started. So far, what I've seen is just amazing work, and I just want to make sure that this community doesn't lose its touch, and we're all staying organized. Okay, so do I have any mods? Is Marco around? Yes, Marco is around. Marco, you got your work cut out for you, buddy. 176 people to moderate. Good luck. um, all right, so where is the? There it is. All right, let's get started. I wanted to talk a little bit about this one. This one's issue. The issues today are all over the place. There's no one specific theme. It's gonna give me hell trying to choose a title later. But what I'm seeing here is the dominant color here is blue. Then you've got purple and purple again and a really, really cool skin type. But then you've got this green in the background. This green, the thing is with green, let's take a look at the color picker right here. Green has a warm version and a cool version of itself, just like every other color, but green specifically because it's a source. It's a product of one warm primary and one really really cool primary. So what we have to do is, because this green is so close to the warms, all you gotta do to make that green stay green but make it match is make it a little bit more analogous. Is that the word? When colors are, let me see if I can disconnect that. When colors are beside each other on the color wheel. This, you still get a green, but you don't get this unmatched kind of pukey looking green compared to all that vibrant saturated blue. This is what it means when you color match, or when you're really good with colors, or when you color coordinate, especially if you're painting pixel art and you're trying to match colors in a game environment or a game setup. You just don't do this. You don't choose colors from different kinds of environments. You're either in a warm landscape or a cool landscape. Write that back to me. Don't mix warm and cool landscapes together, because your colors are going to look immature. You're going to look like a noob with your colors. And the noob color choosing is when you just think you can just do this. I'm going to choose this one. I really like this one, and I'm just going to go ahead and just choose this one. You didn't talk a lot, you didn't think at all about, I mean, these are actually looking pretty good, but you didn't think at all about, you know, which atmosphere these colors are coming from, which light source these colors are coming from. So you're just choosing any random colors and you're not matching where their source is. So you can get away with this in cartooning, but if I saw these colors in a game, I think that game is very unfocused. So how do we make sure all these colors match? We just make sure that we're choosing them from similar vibrancies. So this color, in order to match this red, has to work from this vibrancy right here. Okay, Istebrak, you're gonna look like a noob. Yeah, don't mix your warm and your cools. Alright, so we match this and this. How about this color right here? How do we match this color? Well, we got to make sure, see this neighborhood that both these dominant colors are from? They're from this really saturated top right section of the map. We go to here, and this one's all the way in the grays. Not only do we have to make sure that this is vibrant, but this is a cooler green. Alright, and the thing is with green is that it comes with yellow, and yellow is a little bitch. It's like, it's obsessed with staying light. You can't just darken a yellow. Look what happens with yellow when we try to darken it. It turns into poop. I mean, you never use this color. So what you have to do is, in order to find the local value or the equivalent color to this area, I mean, this color is matching just fine. But again, in an illustration, this color isn't going to work very well if you're working with that pixel art game design business. So you have to choose it from a similar vibrancy neighborhood, and you got to warm it up just a touch. So right now we're working with these really, really vibrant colors, and if I saw these colors in a game, oh my gosh, I would just love what I'm looking at, because when these colors come from such a harmonious neighborhood, when they match, even though they're just completely different colors, you can still match like really weird colors together as long as they look like they're sourced from the same light source. Because light source feeds the color. If a light source feeds the color, it means that all the colors are being fed the same amount, like fish being fed. So all these little colors are saturated in equal amount. If we have this one random color that's gray, what's that color doing so non-vibrant? So again, this is very useful for game design, for font stuff, for all kinds of funny things or tricks that you want to play with your colors. You just have to try to match vibrancy and match the warm or the cool. Alright, so let's see if we can match this purple. So this is like really crazy saturation. So if we found the pastel version of this, again, we have to make sure all these colors are pastel as well. In pastel, you do have to determine whether or not these colors are coming from a warm or cool environment as well. So this color is gonna look too similar. So this orange doesn't really work very well dark, because it's part of orange is yellow. Yellow really is obsessed with being bright. So I kind of have to borrow just a little bit of brightness for that. And just look at how these colors are matching. They're more muted than these, of course. Pastel is more popular and trendy nowadays. But again, I just have to cool it down. The darker I go, cool it up, the darker I go. So the darker your value is going to be, the better the color, the cooler the color should be. You can't stay warm if you go dark. Because does anyone know why you can't stay warm unless you go dark? Or yeah, you can't stay warm if you go dark. Can anyone answer why? Why can't colors warm up when they darken? What's the reason? I'm just gonna pastel. This is already pretty cool, but I'm just gonna shift it down to the blues because I darkened it. Why did I darken it? Because I moved down. This was the original value. I moved down, meaning I have to slide down. If you move up, you slide up to the warms. That's always the rule. The flower humanoids. Yeah, that's what won today. No, today, the next critique theme, no, I'm going to give you, the winner of the theme is humanoid, floral humanoids, but I will give you time to complete them, so we won't have floral humanoid theme until like 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, for whenever it looks, because they get dirty. There isn't much light hitting it, exactly. So the sun warmth lightens everything automatically and warms everything automatically, exactly. You lose red light, exactly. Cause molecules. No, you can't just say cause molecules, but yeah, that's it typically. That's it. Everyone thinks it's some sort of crazy science behind matching your colors. It isn't. If you're sliding down into the darks, cool them up to cool them down just a little bit. If you're sliding into crazy saturation levels, all these up here, you want to bring a little bit more warmth. So if you're drawing a tropical sky with tropical shallow water, you don't just grab this blue. This blue is reserved for tundras and cool environments that get a little bit dark. What we do is, because there's so much sun in a tropical environment, we bring in that yellow, and this is a much more beautiful, sunny, warm, sandy, beachy kind of sky color. And that's the color we're going to see on the sand under all that water. Alright, and if we do bring in sand that's in a shallow area, we get more yellow, because that yellow of the sand is merging with the color of the sea. Alright, so that's it basically. The problem with this, why this background color was so, and forgive me for my words, but it's ugly color. It's an ugly color compared to all this stuff that you've got going on here. So what we have to do, again, is we just have to cool down this green. Green will still be green if it's close to blue, and it'll be able to match this other blue that you have here. The issue is the blue that you have here isn't just blue. What kind of blue is this? It's a very greeny blue. It's not up here where all the blues are. It's not very navy. It's a very greeny kind of blue. And then if you go into this, very, very green. See how shot down into the turquoise. So you've got a navy dark and then a turquoise. You want to follow this hair color that you chose. You have to make sure that you reference everything back to the light source, the way you lighten this. The light has turned this navy color into a green blue. That means the light is yellow if that green happened. So again, this background color needs to be way cooler. I would just go up into here. It will still look green. It'll be nice and out of the way, and just look at that. You want this. You want this kind of color coordination. It's not navy background. We're not doing monochromatic. Monochromatic looks like this. Alright, that's not what we're doing here. You still have color variety. At this point, you're matching the colors together. Let's say your background was yellow. So I saw green. Let's pretend that it was yellow. Let's pretend that you were intending a yellow. As we said before, yellow does not exist in dark. So you're pretty much giving me that diarrhea yellow right now. Okay, so that the color that does work, that is a little bit friendly, that does behave like yellow, and you are working with complementaries, is if you were intending for a yellow and not a green, you just got to slide this up into the values. That's it. And you'll get that yellow back. And I think this is also really, really beautiful. You do have the countering of two really, really, close, almost complementary tones, but you got to choose either this one or this one, not this one. And this, my friends, is why we work in grayscale, because when we work in grayscale, we can identify which colors exist in which values. Yellow does not exist in dark values. It's simply you don't have yellow anymore. This isn't yellow. This is like a gray pastel dark green for me. I don't treat it as yellow. Yellow only exists up here, and look at the adjacent values. Really, really bright. Blue is probably the most vibrant color all the way down to this. Blue is the only color that still shines out here. Purple turns into this crap, red turns into poop, and then soil, and then you've got green, which kind of borrows from blue. That's why green is also still alive in the darks. But yellow is just absolute poop. Just look what happens to yellow. It's bark. Earthy, earthy colors come dark and desaturated. There's a microtexture and soil and all that business. Right, so that's why we leave you guys away, get you guys away from values from colors for so long, because we want you to understand that under every color there is a value, and if you don't have experience with that, I'm going to just choose this one. If you don't have experience with that, you will make bad choices like this, and then you guys wonder, why don't my colors look good? It's because you don't know the values under each color. Alright, so that was a whole different topic. Now it's a whole other new topic, which is just facial proportions. As I told you, I'm going to be just jumping around all day today. Okay, so I don't know why liquefy takes forever. But I like what you're doing here. I don't think I need liquefy. I like what you're doing with the lips. This is exactly what you guys are supposed to be doing with the edges of the lips. However, what's with this disconnection here? What happened? This is like, doop, just connect that back in. Why was that excessive length added? This was a result of symbols. This was a result of how you draw mouths when you have nothing but a line. And this is what happens. You add those two little squigglies on either side. Remember when you draw lips like this? At one point or another, you all drew lips like this, either to experiment. I don't know, but you drew lips like that. You see this? This is bad, okay? This transfers over. You guys think you're home free from your line dependency days. You're not. It doesn't just happen like that. Um, what happens is that this is left over. This remains. And that's why you added those 2 extra pieces. You didn't need that. And what you did by lengthening the mouth like that is that you interrupted the beauty signature. And for women, typically, I mean, traditionally, you have to learn the basic beauty universal standard. I mean, if you want to make art for Overwatch one day, you're going to have to learn how to make a cute face. I mean, like, we have not seen, except for that one old lady in Overwatch, that old lady with the white hair, we have not seen one character in Overwatch that has broken the beauty standard. And that's Overwatch. We're talking about a really successful game. And there's a reason why we memorize the universal beauty standard. When we're talking about fine art and a fine art gallery and you're applying for a fine art school, you're not applying for a portfolio for like a AAA company, then yeah, you can start learning and working with references and working outside of the universal beauty standard. But if you're trying to tailor your portfolio for those big shots, you have to make sure you know what you're doing, and this is interrupting it. You've made her mouth very wide. It looks very masculine, and it's basically broken the beauty standard, which basically says the mouth can't be that much wider than the eye width. The width, the middle point of each eye. That's it. And that's why we do the 14-day challenge, because we want to avoid making mistakes like this on a masterpiece in the future. We avoid masterpieces so we can make the mistakes before the masterpieces. We don't just avoid masterpieces indefinitely. But what I say is students should avoid masterpieces, because you guys don't spend enough time making these mistakes. God knows when you're going to have another lip to draw. The next time you draw a form, it's just a whim the next time you try that. So that's why we have to try the studies today. Next time we do a masterpiece, we don't make this kind of mistake. Alright, as for the nose, I'm going to talk about the nose as another piece, but the nose is very small, so that's when we really break the beauty standard and use baby proportions. So, they can only shrink the nose so far before it starts to look like an infant's baby or her nose never developed. And basically, you just want to make sure that all the features have the same amount of mass. Basically, if you got a scale and you put the eyeball and the other eyeball and the nose, they should all weigh the same. Do you know what I mean? They should take up the equal amount of space on the face. That's the traditional beauty standard. What is the universal beauty standard? It's the rule, like the golden ratio, which means that the same width for the eye, basically it's the triangle, and you've got the fairy face, tiny nose and tiny mouth. And then for the ogre is the direct inversion of that. You've got the tiny eyes, big nose, and then big mouth. And men are somewhere in the middle. Men have this is old, ugly, ogre. This is pretty, young, elf. Okay? In the middle, sometimes we have men that look like this, or men that look like this, and they can still be handsome. But it's because they still have this beauty. Their eyes aren't downturned. They still have this beauty to them. Their noses are nice and long, but they're even, and they've got a samurai jack face going on. Do you see that? But it's somewhere in between. So old lady, old man, ugly ogre. It can be also used for ugly female ogre. And then ogre in general as the mascot of the inversion of the beauty standard, and then the elf is the mascot of the beauty standard itself, which is the down-facing triangle. So pretty, young, elf, pretty male. You can also use this for a male. It's not specific for females, but you will have a girly looking male. This is also young for babies, so babies have this beauty standard. And if you guys haven't watched it yet, I really recommend you watch it. It's hilarious. But the stork's baby, it didn't matter if it was male or female, they all have this exact beauty standard. Tiny little nose, and the mouth is in between the iris, or the inner corners of the eyes. And that's why this baby is unbelievably cute. And you've seen this all over, all kinds of character designs. We've seen this everywhere. This is the best scene ever. This is Key and Peele, by the way. The voice actors for the wolves. Oh my god, it's so funny. Here as well, the beautiful girl, except her nose has a bit more distance from her eyes. Here the nose is really close, right inside the eyes, where here, for the older you get, the further the eyes are beneath the nose, so you stretch out the triangle, but she's still very beautiful. That's what I mean by universal beauty standard. You want to memorize that because that's what reads in a portfolio later if you're applying to these big shot production companies. I mean, they're not looking for a super realistic looking face. I mean, Disney everywhere, Universal, not Universal, what am I saying? DreamWorks, all of them borrow from that beauty standard. And that's why you gotta learn it for just a little bit. Learn it in the 14-day challenge. It's safe, it's a nice closed environment, and you can just learn it there. I'm going to add those little dark spots back, but this right here is exactly what I want you guys to do with your lips. Do you see how it's not just a dot, but a gradual descent into the dark spot? That's what we want to see. And then you have that little edge of the light shooting back upward. This is it. You can dress this up as much as you want. Keep working on your textures. I think the eyebrows right here are a little bit too fluffy. Blend them back in. I would rather see an undefined eyebrow than see a super overdrawn eyebrow. The problem with eyebrows is that they behave like lines too soon and they just flatten the entire eye system that you're working so hard to develop. Then you've got the upper eyelids, which for some reason have less light than the lower eyelids. That's not acceptable. The upper eyelids capture light. They're exposed to the light. There you go. Really, really good job on the pupils. I recommend getting some light of the white of the eye and then just rushing it over the bottom half. If they have really light eyes, water wells on the lower half like that, and it just lightens the lower half of the pupil. And then these little pieces, typically speaking, sometimes it happens, but typically the line, like the lower eyelid, is sometimes shorter or takes up less space than the upper eyelid. So what I've done is I've just raised it. See that? Alright, so before, after. But see, she still looks very, very pretty with her big lower eyelid. It's just that she has these big eyeballs now. Here is more standard and here is more specific. I really like this one because it's very different, it's new. But just remember, typically, universally speaking, the upper eyelid should take up more space than the lower eyelid. But I really like this one, it's cute. Just mentioning it. Alrighty then. Just adding some more edge work over here. Sorry if I'm rushing, I want to make sure I get to everybody's. I hate it when I just choose a bunch of people's work and then I give them this false hope and I just never end up looking at them. I'm so sorry if I've done that to you. I'm so evil. I'm just trying to rush through. Alright, and then lastly is the eyebrow light. So which comes first? The eyebrow bone, not the eyebrow hair, meaning that the eyebrow bone light has to be prioritized first. Of course, the light of the geometry comes before the accessories, and eyebrows are accessories. But yeah, by the way, guys, I wanted to mention, before I forget, I am working on getting a new mic, okay? You can all just relax now about my mic. I know my mic makes this like woozy sound, but that's because my home, no matter where I plug it, my home's going to do that because if there's like a ground loop or some issue with the electricity here, always blowing fuses, really old buildings in New York, but I'm working on getting a really good mic that supposedly cancels that out, so we'll see. I'm going to get that weird ass Yeti thing. Everybody uses, all the YouTubers use it. I'm finally giving in. I just really like the headset. It's so convenient, and I'm trying to find a way to mount the mic like right above my head at the top of my studio. Just at the top, you know, hanging off the ceiling or something, instead of it being on my desk and have no more space. So, I'm sorry about the sound, alright? You know, one comment, they're so passive aggressive. One comment on the why your drawing suck video, someone's like, can you make a video on why your mic sucks? And I hate them because that was such a good diss. I resent them because the diss was so good. Sounds like something I would say. So it's just like, oh my gosh. Is it really that bad? No, I'm gonna give in. I'm gonna get one. I just have to make sure though before I get it that I can mount it, or else I can't. Alright, so let's do a before and after. Tiny little changes, but they make the light source feel more present, and they make the face feel less robotic. Do you see what I mean by that wide mouth? It was just taking up too much space. So the equivalent of this is really Uncanny. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, but Spider-Man, lizard professor, images, they made his mouth very wide. Do you see that? This is a design tool, making the mouth this wide. It's not entirely useless. You save these weird, uncanny things. You save all that weird shit for later when you want to, like, cause this believability and then just shock people with this weirdly weird, uncanny, unhuman wide mouth, right? So everything is nice and in place up here except for the Voldemort nose, but you see what this does? It makes it feel uncanny and freaky. It's useful, but you definitely don't want to use it here unless she is some sort of zombie or vampire that needs a really wide, gaping mouth in order to bite her victims or something. You see, there is still function behind all this, but it has no place in your 14-day challenge for now. You want to perfect the beauty standard. You want to just master it. It's just 14 days or 14 attempts. You can get to all that creepy stuff later. Okay, so this one I'm going to leave for last because I really want to go into this one. This is a photo. I'm going to go into that in a sec. And then this is I wanted to look at this one because you have this, it looks like a girl with a beard. And there's a very specific reason why, and I talked about it already. It's the beauty standard. You have this perfectly set pair of eyes that are beautifully shaped. There is no sign of age on these eyes. How do we do that? How do we make age happen? When you get old, your skin sags, along with a million other things. And right here, sorry, I'm not looking at the comments. I will announce when I'm ready to answer questions, and when I do that, you guys have to write my name, or else it'll just get flooded in the chat. So if you have a question to ask that's relevant to today's discussion, write my name with your question, like a full Istebrak, and then I'll be able to see it. It'll highlight the question for me. Alright, so eyes sag. Because eyes sag, they also shrink. They look like they shrink, or the head grew around the eyes. It's not just a cute little princess head. And typically, if your old guy looks like a Disney princess, you did something wrong. If it looks like a Disney princess with a beard, there's something wrong happened there. And that's because the beauty standard is, you may think you know it, but if you've been drawing girls for the last 80 days and you've drawn their first old man in a while, that old man will definitely look like a woman. It'll just, your brain has become accustomed to this. His eyebrows should go dark, go lower. Not so much to make him sad, but just to show the sag in his brow bones. Not brow bones. Bones don't sag. At least I don't think so. Maybe scientist could enlighten me, but skin sags and fat sags definitely more than bone. Alright, the outer corner, I'm dragging it down. The beauty standard says that the downward facing eye is the beautiful eye. So again, if he's old, we want to invert that. Go to the ogre. Remember the ogre, old, all that stuff. You guys should write this down and just, paste it on your walls or print it out. You can actually pick and choose from these lists. It's not just a random little thing. This seems like more like Gryffindor's face than Salazar Slytherin's. Salazar Slytherin, I feel like his nose would have been a little bit longer and more narrow. Let me see. A little bit more like that. He had higher cheekbones, definitely. But he looks very, very friendly, and I feel like that perfectionist that he was as a Slytherin, talking all about that pure blood business, he kind of looked a little bit more stern. A lot more concentration lines and frown lines across his face. A wider mouth. I would still make the nose very, very narrow looking. Probably bend it a little. And I would bring the eyes closer together. So again, back to that beauty standard. He still looks like a very, very handsome old man. So I want to bring the eyes closer together and enlarge the nose. I don't want him to look like a Maybelline model wearing makeup. I want him to look like an old guy who's stuck his nose in books all his life. Never had time to groom himself or whatnot. Right, these really, really high cheekbones are very effeminate, so it's no longer a point of male and a snob male. Really, really high round cheekbones means female. I'm going to give the eyes a squint. So this is character design plus beauty plus age signatures. Do you get that? That's a lot of stuff to mediate and moderate, you know? That's why I'm saying to you guys, you gotta take time with your 14-day challenges, delay your masterpieces. Every masterpiece is an opportunity to discover what you don't know, and studies will do just that and fix it. I'm going to extend the distance between his nose and his mouth. This is another thing that lets you have more age. I feel like his upper lip would be hidden under his mustache. And I would give him a little scowl, maybe this way. He still looks very friendly to me, but I'm going to give him that old man pout. Just give him more of that. I would have to adjust this cheekbone because I shaved this one off. And I would I feel like I'm sculpting on ZBrush. This is what I usually do after ZBrush. I turn off the symmetry and I just start making asymmetries across the face, which is really nice. So at one point or another, you have to turn off symmetry on ZBrush. But I'm just going to give him more of a squint. So before, after. See what happened? You had that really pretty girl thing going on. He was even like, come here. Okay? Because you've been drawing women for so long. And that's why this happens. You transfer it over. And we want to avoid that. So what I would do is there's a lot of stuff I would do to just, reorganize his face, but there's that. Kind of hide the upper lip. Then there's bringing some more. That's so funny when you say reorganize someone's face. It feels like a threat. I had too much coffee today, man. Alright. So I'm just bringing in these lines right here. I want to make his nose feel a little bit more narrow. Kind of look like Salazar Slytherin now. Slowly but surely. Of course, he's an old guy, so he's going to need those bags. And I'm radial shading to bring out the puffiness of the bags. Yeah, they're starting to look like a Salazar Slytherin to me. I mean, he wasn't bad, right? Was Salazar Slytherin, did he go bad in his lifetime, or did people just misconstrue his ideas? Which were, bad in themselves, because he was he was an elitist, but I don't think he actually meant... Did he end up going bad? This is going to reorganize your face. It's like the way an artist would threaten someone. Weapon of choice is a tablet pen. Right over here. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring in some more of that contrast up here. Sorry about Skype person, I'm ignoring you. And then just kind of make that nose more slender. Then the nostrils are very asymmetrical. That was my fault. Just messing around with liquify. Okay, so before, just like a girl with a beard. You see what I'm saying? And I know I sound like a bitch with my diagnostic before I show you the before and after, but you gotta believe me. You gotta trust your teacher. Alright? Big, beautiful, beautiful eyes. Just a pretty little girl. It looks like a kindergartner wearing a beard and they're doing a little skit. As a designer, you have to be aware of what you're doing. Salazar was just a little stuck up. Yeah, I don't think he actually went bad. I don't think he went to the dark side. Other things you can do to invest personality, so again, this is more character design, is raising one eyebrow up, having another one go down. Now he looks like a bastard. He's like, no, you can't marry my daughter. Alright, so that's a little mini lesson again on beauty standards. I know these are lessons that I repeat through every single video, but you guys see how they manifest very uniquely, student by student. Yeah, the rules are universal. There's only like, I don't know, if you count them as like 15, you can count them with your hands and toes. All the fundamentals are not more than your hands and toes. But they manifest differently through different students. And you have like I guess there is a theme today about beauty standard and stuff. But yeah, you have to be able to identify where you specifically have these issues, and that's why when I say community is so important in learning and improving, I really mean it. When you have someone there telling you, "Yo, this looks like a really pretty old man. You did something wrong." If they don't get that read zoomed out, they're not gonna get the read zoomed in. So just don't bother with the lashes. Don't bother with every single little wrinkle, and it's not gonna carry the image. Wrinkles don't make anyone old. All right. They just look like painted on wrinkles. Your face has to you have to reconstruct the face so it can look like it's lived decades and decades with all this gravity pulling on it. All right, so I'm going to look at this in a second, but this one, there are a lot of things I like about this. It's weird. This one's got me caught. I'm just going to get rid of that. Too much contrast. Okay. Try to keep it just neck, down to the neck for your full 14-day challenge. And what I like about this is how unique the face feels. I really like it. You're still in the beauty standard, but you've got this uniqueness happening. What I don't like is that how, I don't know why you didn't notice it. Maybe you noticed it and you ignored it. But how shocked the eyes look. This should have been fixed right away as soon as you made the image. Just something there. Maybe sometimes when we paint, we accidentally paint in an expression we don't know we have. So we have all these expressions that you forget, to turn off. You forget to work off your painting. So what I'm going to do is just lower this. That's it. That's all you had to do. You can keep the pupils small. You can enlarge the pupils for the sake of the beauty standard. It's all up to you. But as for these eyelids, you simply cannot do your 14-day challenge with the template being shocked. This will be a permanent thing in your work, and it'll just make it look very, very unnatural and unappealing. It'll make it very difficult for your audience to have a common ground with your painting. If your audience isn't shocked, they're just browsing through, they're just going to be like, whoa, what happened here? It's a sudden shock in this character that I'm not understanding. Where is it coming from? All right, none of the other features in the face express the same shock. No open mouth, no really high raised eyebrows. So when we do a 14-day challenge, you want to paint it neutral so that you can at one point shift it so that you can have the shock. I typically recommend this for all you 14-day challengers and those who have graduated from it. Do the 14-day challenge, finish it up, and then do a follow-up of expressions. You will thank yourself. Because expressions, again, don't wait until the masterpiece to make the expression happen. There are the noses involved, the eyes are involved, the nostrils flare up, the eyebrows are just massive carriers of expression. There's the eye squint. There's asymmetrical smiles, there's symmetrical smiles, there's the cheeks pushing on the eyelids. There's all kinds of stuff happens with expressions. So I really recommend promptly, as soon as you're done your 14-day challenge, get the face and just do 14 days of expressions, or copy paste the face that you did, go into Liquify and experiment. Liquify is fine. You don't have to repaint every face to try a new expression. You can just experiment. Again, just get your 14 days, copy it 14 times, so different layers, or not 14 times, copy it like 10 times per expression, no matter how many times you want to try it. And then name the layers: happy, sad, angry, anxious, evil, manipulative, I don't know. And then just adjust with Liquify. And you'll see there's a crazy push and pull. There's a gray area with smiles and evil. There's a lot of stuff to explore. When you have this kind of blindness and you haven't experimented with expressions, you're doing yourself a disservice. Yeah. So the whites of the eyes are too white. They look like they were glowing. I'm just going to use a darken layer mode here. Before I do that, whoopsie, I need to make this core shadow behave unbelievably. So in a second, in about 5 minutes or so, as soon as I'm done the eyes, I'm going to start taking questions. So just I'm going to try to capture every question or just answer every question, but there's a lot of you here today, so I might not get to them. Alright, so I'm darkening the whites of the eyes. Very, very strong outlining happening around the eyes. I really love your values though. I love how the white of the background isn't pure white, but it's just there, but it's also really fun to look at. So it's just the right amount of contrast. I feel like the background is a bit too white for so early in your 14-day challenge. So we can possibly shift it down to here. But you see how your skin tones for the character were so light, as is she's very, very pale. So I've said you can have a darker background, but the point of having a light background is that you appreciate the light environment. So let's say this was the background. I would select inverse and make her like this dark. And then what her previous midtone was would be my highlighter. This is because this skin tone right here, this is where all the best skin tones come from. See these? These are the good, this is where the good stuff is. This is where the skin tones are, right here in this parameter. Up here, you have like these really, really pale, whitish, sickly skin tones. So this would be the base tone, and the new highlighter would be this. And then we would just lay down our values. And the nose can actually behave like a nose. Really shade that. So those are my recommendations. The eyes still look a bit shocked. Let me go back to your values. The eyes still look a little bit too shocked. There's all this over here. The whole fam turned up. Yeah, family reunion. Are you all here because I started 30 minutes late and you guys could make it? Is that why there's a lot of people here today? Should I just start 30 minutes late every day? Every time, I mean? And then there's the problem of the fact that you don't have lower eyelids. You have like a Tim Burton kind of eyelid going on where it's fully dark. I don't recommend that because the reason why you have to have the lower eyelid is for the sake of function. You want to make it look like this eye can blink. Right? But you are still working from this like really stylistic. You can use a stylistic 14 days, like you can use it for stylistic purposes to perfect your stylization, but Disney characters that are very stylized can still blink, right? You can still animate a blink. Why can they do that? Because they gave a dedicated amount of space. Yeah, I really like the mole too. First time, enjoy. Yes, no, she hasn't. Just got home from school. Why can I watch this on 2x speed when this is live? Oh my god, please don't speed me up. I'm already like on coffee. I'm just gonna sound like a maniac. Sound like that squirrel from Over the Hedge. When he drinks coffee, he's already hyper, and then he has some coffee, and then just time slows down. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm just introducing a crease. And then I'm introducing this lower eyelid, and we have some trouble over here. Try to prevent that from happening by making it act a bit more like a lash line. So you see what I mean when I really like the style? It looks like a animated Disney short, but in grayscale, the way they animated that paper airplane short. So adorable. So I like your values, I really do. I just don't like the lack of anatomy. For a 14-day challenge, that's what it's all about. Learning to combine anatomy, appreciating anatomy, creating a face that can function, a face that looks like it's existed in a light source. There's a light source around it. She did have a dark circle around her, which was actually very nice. Can bring that back once I'm done. This is a 14-day challenge, so we're trying to learn the standard and then we can customize when we're done, when we've earned our graduation. The nose needs a lot of work. The nose, this circle right here, has taken up the entire anatomy of the nose, where it should be taking only a slight amount. The nostrils are not built radially. They don't feel like they're gradually shifting in the distance. You've disconnected the top of the nose with from the nostrils. There shouldn't be that much of a bend. And your values are shared between the nose and the eye socket, where they should be much lighter. Alright, you want to draw realistic looking forms. And what I'm doing right now, this is called blocking in. I'm blocking in the values. And then this light bit goes up here. All the standard light spots, all the standard dark spots, they all need to be addressed for the 14-day challenge. So it kind of feels like a quick speed class, you know, because I'm rushing through everything. For the eyebrows, they do feel kind of neutral, don't they? They just feel like she's posing for her ID, which is kind of like what your 14-day challenge should always look like, that they're posing for their ID or their passport. You know, they're not smiling. For eyebrows for a 14-day challenge, don't draw them like this. Let them be mushy. I would rather them be hairy caterpillars than be lines, because then you have something to work from. You start with the texture and then you bring in the micro texture. Never start with the micro texture, meaning don't start with the tiny little brushes of every single eyebrow hair. Why would you do that if you're going to be drawing massive brush strokes of core shadow later on? It's counterproductive. What I'm doing now is I'm finding the core shadows of the face. So there's a lot of work left for you to do to be able to combine all this. I like the shape of her lips, really, really beautiful and unique. But the edges of the lips should pretty much be fuzzed out. Lips don't just happen. They're not stickers. They gradually happen. The skin cells gradually start to happen around the lips. And then again, with the edges of the lips, just like we saw in the previous painting before this one, you want to be able to gradually introduce the edges of the lips. So you want to have lip corners. You can't not have lip corners. You have to be able to have those. And I'm just bringing back her lipstick using a soft brush. And to be able to differentiate between both lips, I use like a lasso and I outline the upper lip from the bottom lip. So like the inverse. And with radial shading, I introduce dark white. I'm going to erase this bit here with the darkest value. But do you see how her lips feel like an old woman's lips? That's because of the really, really wide Cupid's bow. When you get old, your Cupid's bow sags back down to a more mild bow than a Cupid bow. Kind of useless bow. So what we want to do is we want to not let that Cupid's bow feel so wide, because then she'll look old. So this is pretty much differentiating between both lips, and then we have the dark spots on either side of the lip that are introduced gradually. See how I'm gradually bringing this in. Sorry if it's been more than 5 minutes. I will look at your questions, I promise. I will let you know when I start answering them. Do not fret. Okay, so we need to create a differentiation between these two lips. And the core value, not the core value, the geometric anatomy behind the lips is all cylinders. So just, you know, how would you shade a cylinder in a study? With gradients, right? And this is typically it. The fat part of the lip is the bright bit, and then you've got the highlights. So I'm just trying to create the realistic versions. It's little time as I have of your piece, connecting this shadow upward, bringing some highlight under the brows. The same piece you started off with, but now it has a more realistic anchor. Feels like it really is in a studio or in a 3D modeling room or something. Where yeah, it's animated, yeah, it's stylized, but it looks like it can function. Okay, so I'm just gonna really quickly just make that Cupid's bow a little bit more mild. There is still a shadow on the lower half of the face that's needed, but if you can draw animated stylization that looks like it's been animated and 3D modeled, but it's all 2D, that's really, really sought after. It's a really sought after skill. Because there isn't much of a transfer or a loss in translation between 2D stage and pre-production, and then, yeah, this image is too big. 2D stage and pre-production, and then the, goddamn 6,000. And the final 3D modeling stage. Kind of working the same. See that? I'm just shortening it. She's going to look much younger because of it. It's because as you get old, your lips sag down. But you did have that Tim Burton thing going on. So, oh, before I do that, filter, image size. And for your 14-day challenge, typically you need to introduce the light source in the painting. This has more light source because I cast a shadow. I have shadows coming off the eyelids. When you're doing expressions, please use this. This is when she's like, oh my god, did that guy really just touch my ass? Right? She's on a bus and she just got groped. Not that it's funny. It's not funny to get sexually harassed. But I'm just saying, maybe someone farted in front of her in the subway. I'm just saying it's an expression. Right, before someone starts tagging me. Alright? So sometimes you're young and you have those big wide cupid's bows, and it's best when you want to make variations like that to look for a reference. I mean, all kinds of beautiful variety happens in the real world. When in the real world, it's like someone clicked randomizer on the character selection tool, and you get all kinds of weird combinations, beautiful but weird, weird but beautiful. But you can learn a lot from them and bring them into your paintings. But again, the beauty standard is good to know it so that you don't do it when you don't want to do it, and you know how to do it when you want to do it. Alright, I'm taking questions now. Go ahead and ask me what you want to ask. Istebrak, how do you paint shadows when the light source is not clearly defined? Like in the case of an overcast day, there's a lot of atmospheric scattering. Shadows are still there, they're just fuzzy. So you can't just, if there's a shadow for the nose and it's overcast and it's midday, the shadows are going to point down. Yeah, they're going to not be as sharp as they should be. They're still going to point down though. So make sure that you're working along, if the light source is fuzzy and blanketed by a veil of white clouds, then those shadows will be very, very fuzzy. They will still be there, but they will not be there in as much contrast as if the sun was never hidden. If there's still light, it's overcast. It's just very gentle. Yeah, exactly. There's still light if it's overcast, exactly. Is it a bad idea to spend many hours correcting, refining the perspective of a single portrait before you render? Definitely not a bad idea. It's a very, very good idea to spend time on your geometry. Perspective is geometry, period. And being able to sit there and look, rotate the cube, ask yourself, okay, how much of the nose, or the bottom of the nose am I seeing? How much of the bottom of the chin am I seeing? That is a really, really, it's time well spent. Time well spent. Not a bad idea. Focal points of a painting display the highest contrast. How do you know where to use this rule with portraits? With portraits, the most important part of a portrait, of course, is the fact that there's a characterization that's happening. You're designing a human being. There's a portrait of something, of someone. And for me, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many of the classical artists I studied, it's the eyes. The crosshair of the eyes should have the most contrast. Nothing should contest the eyes. The eyes is where we meet, as the viewers, we meet the character. So never, never, never just place a random amount of contrast on an ear and half the lip. No, it's the eyes. It'll always be the eyes for portraits, in my opinion. Do you think it's a bad thing if I keep my semi-anime style to draw? I'm fond of it, and drawing realistic faces doesn't interest me. It may not interest you, Mebaran, but it'll help you when you go back to your hybrid style. So you guys you've heard of all these celebrated hybrid anime artists like Ilya Kushin, whatever, and all these other people. And what they do is they've managed to make a very realistic, anatomically accurate, proportionate looking character, but it's fully anime. I mean, they will just get a photograph of a real person and make them into an anime version. How do they do that? They keep all the realism intact. They keep all the form intact. What they change are the proportions like we looked at today. The downturned eyes, the extra large eyes, the shrunken nose, and the proportioned mouth. But they still benefit from the days where they spent studying photographs. They still look capable of looking at how the beard shadow moves across the face, that initial core shadow. that sits on half the face, the cast shadow of the nose, the presence of the light source. All of that stuff you still learn when you draw realistic stuff. And when you go back, again, in order to break the rules, you have to learn them. So I really recommend, if you want to get better at drawing anime, learn how to draw realism for just a little bit. I'm not saying learn it for a year, just a month of doing one photo study a week. And then right after that 4 weeks of that, draw the next hybrid anime you want to draw. You will bring in some really nice looking eyebrows, believable blinking upper eyelids. Yes, they'll be large, but they'll be really pretty. You'll be able to make a more believable gaze. All the stuff and little signatures that you learned from your realistic stage studies, you'll transfer them back in. Istebrak, do you or would you do tutorials, critiques for ZBrush? I was thinking about it, Lithium. I really was. I don't know how I would do it. You guys would send me the Z tool, I'd load it in, and what I feel like, where the issues are. There is like a move tool, which is really similar to Liquify, which might make my life very, very easy. My computer can more than handle it. So yeah, I think I definitely might do a day for ZBrush stuff. In order to send them to me would be the issue. Facebook has a really great file sharing system for you guys to send me the Z tool. But you guys can upload your ZBrush, like your screenshots of ZBrush, to the community. You can upload your sculpts to the community. I'm here telling you that you can do that. But if I were to choose them, I would have to choose them ahead of time and message you on Facebook. Yeah, I'd have to find a way for you guys to send me the actual file, because it's not just a flat 2D JPEG. I would have to get the 3D file. Is there a certain way the nose can be drawn, and how do you make the lips line up with the rest of the face? The dip of the lip right here is the dip of the cupid's bow in the middle, which is the dip of the nostril. So all of these should be lined up, cascading like that, or collapsing, sorry. And then for the, what do you mean by, is there a certain way the nose can be drawn? There is, if you were asking for like a general way. The septum, which is this little piece right here, is always lower than the nostrils. The nostrils should have a down-turned teardrop face shape. And then the nostrils are higher than the septum, and the tip of the nose is always illuminated, along with the top half of the bridge, the entire bridge actually. Either sides are not as bright as the bright spot of the nose, which is the top of the bridge, and then the shadows sit on the halfway marker on the nose. So it is I know it's like a lot of stuff to add to a list for a simple way to draw noses, but noses are one of the most complex things about a face, so there's no one way to do it. What resolution painting size do you recommend as a standard? 3000 by 3000 at 300 dpi. Adjust the canvas as need be. Portraits have a vertical canvas, and landscapes have a horizontal canvas. Don't use a square canvas. Tile canvases are very weird and unnatural looking, and they don't have enough space. We're either looking up and down at a person or side to side, shaking our heads to look at a landscape. So that's the standard. Stylistically, if you had to draw tiles, then go for the tile. I know this isn't a question. Oh my. I know this isn't a question, but I finally for the meds I need. I'm so happy. Finally. What? I think Nick is high. Do I get extra points for being tiny little 14-year-old boy? Okay, how do I go about studying anatomy? Jesus, don't look at anatomy books. Don't memorize single muscle groups. That's pointless and useless. What you want to do to really wrap your head around anatomy is grab a muscle group. Let's say you're doing the arms, shoulders, and chest. One of the biceps. One of the pecs. Try to summarize that entire muscle group by muscle group from the chest to the arm in geometries. So when I say geometry, I say learn how to shade, like geometric shapes, images. Try to find the combination of these shapes in that muscle group. This is what I call, I think I coined the term, I don't know, geometric anatomy. So what muscle group would you use to summarize the pectorals? I would actually use a octahedron, a pyramid from the top, all right, shaved down, because this would be the peak of the pectoral or the breast, breast, of course, I would use a water balloon, but that's different. A male pectoral is more structured, so I would use this. For the shoulder, I would use this, just to, again, accentuate the, or this, dodecahedron for the shoulder. And then for the muscle by muscle, I'll probably use a cuboid. For, are these right? Is this really what they're called? Jeez. I would use a rectangle cube for the forearms, and then triangular prism for the muscle by muscle, so the biceps and the triceps. So you see what I'm doing here? This little thingy, all of these have a z-axis, and when you think about muscle groups as shapes, it's easy for you to shade them. This top of the muscle gets this much light, and this side of the muscle gets this much shadow. There's an edge right here, and I have to make sure I don't overblend. Yes, they aren't actual cubes, but they're cube based, so yes, they'll have gradients, but not massive gradients where everything looks like a sphere. The reason why you guys have issues with anatomy when you're trying to draw, everything looks like it's made out of a balloon, you know? Like, it looks like all the muscles you have are just swollen. They look like they're, I don't know what happened, like a bee sting. They don't look like real muscles. They look like bubble people. And that's because you guys use the sphere for every muscle group. Well, it's not true. Sometimes you have real edges and areas that are really skeletal, which is forearms, and then areas that are really dense and fatty, but they're still muscular, which is like pectorals and biceps and shoulders. So this is what I mean by geometric anatomy, to better transfer you into the world of anatomy study. Represent different muscle groups by a go-to set of geometries to help you shade better and find the edge work better. Edge work is where it's at. Z-axis is where it's at. When doing a 14-day challenge, are we allowed to use references? Yes, you are, but not a photo reference. So don't use copy the reference completely. Find a reference that you like for the nose for day one, for the eyes for day one, and then just keep using those over and over again. Out of curiosity, what's the likelihood of traditional art critiques with you just rather digital? I've looked at a lot of traditional stuff. I looked at pencil art. I looked at a lot of comic book spreads before in my channel. You guys can post your line art, just as long as it's not sketch by sketch, but if you have a full panel of line art, you can post that up. I don't mind at all. Digital paintings, I mean, I will do traditional, I will do my corrections in digital, but I'm sure you can go back if you can and adjust it or prepare for next time to not make the same mistake. Sorry this is so specific, but do you have any tips for painting smiles with teeth showing without making them creepy? Don't paint the shadow in between every tooth. That is the biggest mistake. You will make it look like this, or they're a smoker, and it'll look like this weird smoker person. No offense to all these smoker people, you should quit. But when we have this excess shadow, the teeth are white, they're right beside each other, and they're reflecting light. There's no chance for using black in between the teeth. If the teeth are white, use a mid-tone and then some edge work to separate the teeth from each other. Do not, when you're drawing a smiling person, you try to paint the space between every tooth. Alright, it'll look really creepy. And don't try to overpaint the teeth. If the teeth aren't showing, you can represent them with a single little brush stroke of white. Or the moderators, can we suggest books that help with color picking, color theory on the Google Plus page? Of course, I have a lot of people sharing their links, different videos they like to watch, different books they found really useful. Absolutely, you guys can share that on the Google Plus page. I use Open Broadcaster to stream. How do you select a color for pale skin? My painted girl looks like she has a beard. Color for pale skin. Pale skin sits high on the values. It also sits very pink, because the paler you are, the more see-through, translucent your skin is, and the more pink it is. So this would be my base tone up here, and then my highlighter would borrow from the yellows, and then my shadow would move more into the darks. This would be my limit for the shading. And then we have moments that are pure black, like around the nose and nostrils, that work from the cools. But values for really, really pale people, their skin can only go so dark. At that point, you have to borrow from your edge work. See Rex video on how to draw what's kind of my face. Sweet, thanks for the response. No problem. Do you have any experience with Clip Studio Paint or how it compares to Photoshop? No, unfortunately, I have no opinion on Clip Studio. I haven't even tried it yet or looked into it. 3000 by 3000 is what I said, and then adjust above that if your computer can handle it. Anything half of that is just I don't know, like anything less than 1500 by 1500 is too low. Thank you everyone for coming today. You guys are great. If you guys liked what you saw, if this is your first time, if you're not from, I think all of you are from YouTube, so y'all know where to find me, but go to istebrak.com and subscribe on YouTube if you want to see the recordings. Today's upload recorded. Today's recording uploaded. Google Plus is where you can join to upload your work. I found all of the work from today. Again, the announcement is floral humanoids is the next theme. Don't ask about the resources. I will post them up and I will give it a little pin and you guys will be able to see it. The resource pack will be uploaded to the community tab right here. You guys can join. There's no challenge currently running. I will have, instead of this writing, I'll have a little click for you, a little link for the resource pack, and it'll have all the references, the brief, everything. Okay, and then finally, I'm gonna close by the 31st my transformation grant. The transformation grant is where you can go to apply for a chance to get a tablet and a bunch of resources, lots of sessions with me. And this is for growing students who need a little bit of a kickstart in their adventure, their art life. They don't have money to get a new tablet or something like that, or resources are limited in their lives. So this is where you guys can go. It's an opportunity to get some extra help, and it's due on the 31st, and I will announce the winner within the first 2 weeks of February. My mods and I will help. My mods and I will choose a winner together. And Facebook is where I announce, so you can get your paintings back on Facebook, your paintovers. Remember that if I give you your paintovers back, don't upload the raw paintover that I gave you and pass it off as your work. That is my work. Try to duplicate the work yourself. If you can't, don't use my paintover that I send you. And then Twitter is where I announce all class cancellations or delays or anything like that. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. Thank you, all of you, for coming today, and I will see you guys on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If it's at 5:30, I'll announce it then. Bye, everyone.